Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the week 2, second main session of the Sendai Framework Monitoring and Disaster Loss Accounting Training of Trainers. We are having colleagues come from the waiting room slowly and steadily, but maybe we can start the introductory phase now so that we can keep to our limits, because today is going to be an exciting session with presentations by a few partners and experience sharing, which will, can lead to some discussions, which may take some time. So we didn't want to, delay the process, because at the other end, you would have either other commitments for meetings, and some of the colleagues I see have joined us really late, and we really appreciate your time. For example, colleagues joining us from Singapore, I see Priscilla, welcome, and thank you so much for taking the time at really towards the end of your evening, and it's already night there. So without much ado, we'll move into the first part of this session. This session has two parts. The first one is going to cover institutionalization of disaster loss databases. So it will basically, we will go through some experiences shared on how the disaster loss databases have been established and institutionalized, and which better region to do it from than Americas, which is where it all started as far as DisInventR is concerned. DisInventR started in Americas more than 25 years ago in 1994. And that's from where we have colleagues joining us now to share some of the experiences. So that session will be till 55. So it's at Central European time. It's 3 till 3 to 3:55. Then we'll have a short 10-minute break, and then we'll have a colleague Sarah joining in on the analytical module of the DisInventR. That will be explained in the afternoon. We'll go into that at that point. So that will be another 55 minutes from then. So without much ado, I'll call upon our colleague Carlos from the Regional Office of Americas and the Caribbean of UNDRR. Carlos, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Rahul, and thank you to everyone to attend the meeting today. As Rahul has presented, we will talk about the establishment and institutionalization of disaster loss databases. And most of the session we will have today is experience sharing from the Americas region. To do so, I will share my screen now. And for the presentations today, we will have interventions from Ofelia Insaurralde and Maria del Pilar Cantero from the National Emergency Secretariat from Paraguay, talking about the country experience. We will have Andres Velasquez and William Burbano that will be talking about the experience in general in the Americas region in the establishment and institutionalization of disaster loss databases. So welcome to everyone. I just wanted to check if Ofelia and Maria del Pilar are on the meeting room now. If yes, say yes, please. Okay. Well, they were having some troubles to be connected, but I saw Andres and William. To introduce the session, I will use some slides that were presented in the session of this morning by my colleague Yuta May. and presenting findings from a review on the use and institutionalization of disaster loss databases. And I will just try to show to you some slides that I found really useful and interesting. One of the main challenges and the key areas where we need to focus now on the development and institutionalization of disaster loss databases is to promote, model, and demonstrate good information governance, strengthening and enabling the environment. So most of the time when we talk about information disaster loss databases, we assume and we see first the technology, the tools, the information architecture, the software and the methodologies, and all that is related to the security and maintenance of this depository of data. But we don't think about a very, very important thing, that is the governance mechanism that is behind all this. And this is kind of a complex but easy to understand system now that involve first people that need to have responsibility and capacities, and that need to develop these professional capacities. Now, this is people that are operating the system, that are looking for information, introducing information into the systems. And this system to work very well needs governance. And this governance is there and needs to be there to ensure that the system is working very well and that things are done on the right way. Governance will come with leadership support. We will define the strategies and policies and alignment with the different mechanisms and strategies, as for example, the Sender Framework monitoring tool, that is one of the main contributions we seek when we're defining and operating these databases in any specific country now. And also the processes that are included and will ensure quality on the management of the information. So this is all the system that we will need to have in a specific country to operate and have success on the management of disaster loss information and data. One of the very, very important points that was exposed by Judah this morning were the information and data governance involved, as I say, people, governance, process, and technology, and what will be the future, and what is the current status, and what will be the future, with or without this information and data management and governance. So we seek, let's focus on the left and what will we have if we implement this kind of information and data management system very well. We will have, in terms of people, a very professional team, a very skilled team that will be operating and having products and analytics information from the databases. We will have a very good governance that will be strategic resources and with a collaborative approach to ensure that the disaster data is visible to the leadership and will induce a supported positive change that will inform really well the decision-making processes we are supporting with this kind of initiative. And will employ a very good level of technology to operate the systems. Sorry. You will have also on the first finding of this review that were presented by Judah, the ways of how to address the current status of these four components, now people, governance, process, and technology. I won't be going into detail of this. You will have the information that has been shared by Rahul and the team in Bonn. To continue on this, I wanted to share some important tips and points that we have identified. And when we are talking about the institutionalization of disaster loss databases. To understand a little bit, I will go back to the history and talking and making reference to the 90s. And the 90s, no country was identified with to have a national disaster loss database. So not that far away. Any country were registering information. Some information were registered about earthquakes, volcanoes, and hurricanes, and only with ECLAC in very, very few cases. So only from Yokohama in 1993 and following the Kyoto Summit on 2005, we started to have some national efforts to data collection, especially on the effects of natural and socio-natural and technological phenomena. One of the disasters that have motivated the most these actions in collecting data were the Hurricane Mitch in 2018 and floods that have been taking place in Honduras and Nicaragua. So only really big events have motivated the starting of data collection officially at the national level. And with the time, with the same framework and the 2030 agenda that define targets and indicators that support directly the efforts made by the countries to make decisions based on information on damages and losses, there is another incentive, another motivation to continue to collect data and information about disaster in a very formal way and feeding these national databases. We have noticed in the recent years that many national efforts are going to support more robust databases. And in most of the cases, the national disaster management are taking responsibility on this. And this is a very good point to highlight, because one of the objectives of the same day framework is to change the paradigm and to not to manage disaster, but to reduce disaster. And so if we are having the National Emergency Management Agency that are operating disaster loss databases and contributing to the process of disaster risk reduction is a very, very important point. A very last tip that I wanted to share with you that is important on the institutionalization of disaster loss databases is that during the COVID-19 pandemic, a group of researchers have conducted a review on 162 national databases. And this review shows that these 162 databases are registering effects of damages and losses due to biological phenomena. And most of these phenomena that are affecting human life and health very heavily are also affecting mainly the agriculture and the life sector. And going deeper on this analysis, the losses that we have noticed are related to biological and epidemiological causes, but at the beginning was a climatic and hydrometeorological phenomenon. So that was just a very brief overview of what is the idea with the institutionalization of disaster loss databases, and which are the main tips on the history and how was the evolution on the institutionalization of disaster loss databases. One of the most important points, and we're insisting on this, is that we need to involve at the national level the statistic agencies. And in the Americas region, we had a very important action that is conducted between UNDRR and ECLAC with a group specifically working on statistics, and they are working and having a specific training this year and producing a report and trying to involve deeply the national statistic organs and agencies into the disaster risk reduction processes. With this, I will start our session talking about the lessons learned and good practices, and I will invite my colleague from the also corporation in Colombia to meet the floor. I will ask you to be patient because we will be he will speak in Spanish and I will try to do a simultaneous translation of him. So please, Andres, welcome to the training, and please go with your presentation. Andres.
Hola, mucho gusto. Voy a empezar.
Estás muteado, Andrés. Andrés, no te oímos.
Aló, ¿me escuchan?
Perfecto. Thank you, Andrés.
Mucho gusto. Voy a hacer una historia pequeña de desinventar en América Latina y el Caribe y sus perspectivas.
Good morning to everyone. I will make a little point on the history of disinventar in the Americas and the Caribbean and give some perspective for the future.
Entonces, comparto mi... Comparto.
He will share his screen.
¿Cómo comparto? Ok, ¿tengo compartida pantalla?
Sí, está bien, Andrés, perfecto.
Ok, son 26 años desde el origen con un almacén de 272 bases de datos.
It is 25 years of history with Disinventar since the beginning that was born in Latin America, and there is 272 bases that are stuck in their servers.
En 25 países.
In 25 countries.
Que son oficiales en Panamá, Ecuador y Bolivia, y en curso en Paraguay y Colombia.
These databases are official in Panama, Ecuador, and Bolivia, and they're in an ongoing process to be official in Paraguay and Colombia.
Incluyen, puede seguir Carlos, proyectos regionales, etcétera, hasta terminar con capital humano.
Yes, so these different initiatives are regional projects, post-disaster evaluation, subnational databases, local databases that are related to municipalities or small towns. There is also thematic databases included in this list. Also, databases that are based in the academia sector and the investigation. I need to make a point here that maybe you know, but the beginning, the origin of this inventory was from the research and academia sector in Latin America and the Caribbean. And there is also applications on the COVID-19, specifically in Colombia. Right? Por favor, sigue, Andrés.
Okay. Antes de 1993,
Before
se
1993,
consideraba que los desastres eran fenómenos imprevistos
y before 1993, the disaster were considered to be
ellos.
Unpredictable. Sorry, lo siento, síganme.
Y existía la Oficina de las Naciones Unidas para el Socorro en casos de desastre. Toda la visión sobre los desastres se enfocaba en la respuesta.
Yeah, and at that time, we had the UNDRR that was focused only on disaster response activities.
Investigadores europeos, norteamericanos y de América Latina desde los años 1980 empezamos a cambiar los paradigmas.
A worldwide research network started to change the paradigm that was at that time to only focus on disaster response.
Planteábamos que los desastres sí avisan y no son naturales.
And they were saying that we can prevent disaster and they are not natural.
Reconocimos que las emergencias, los daños, pérdidas y desastres son resultados de interacciones no deseadas entre los sistemas geósfera, atmósfera, biosfera y el territorio humano.
Yeah, they had recognized that disaster loss and effects were the result of negative interaction between natural and human systems.
Son riesgos cumplidos según su definición original de las compañías aseguradoras en la década de 1930.
They were considered as accomplished risks. That was the definition of the insurance companies that was established in the 1930s.
Y ocurren en un territorio que es el resultado de una acción humana que se construye y se transforma a partir de relaciones entre procesos naturales y sociales.
Yeah, and they occur in a territory that is the result of human action, and it's built and transformed with the interactions between natural and social processes.
Un territorio comprende su estructura, que es el ambiente natural y construido.
A territory includes the structure, that is the natural and built environment.
El ambiente natural son las interacciones de los subsistemas geósfera, atmósfera y biosfera.
The natural environment that is the interactions between the atmosphere and biosphere and geosphere.
El ambiente construido es la organización espacial, el uso y ocupación, la distribución de la población, la infraestructura productiva y de servicios.
Yeah. The built environment are the spatial organization and the soil and occupation, the use and occupation of the soil, and the distribution of the population, the infrastructure that to produce and to provide services.
Las funciones están ligadas a actividades humanas de producción, consumo y servicios.
Yeah, the functions of this system were linked to human activity of production, consumption, and exchange.
y la lógica y la dinámica de un territorio está estrechamente relacionado con su gobernabilidad y las políticas de desarrollo.
And the logic and dynamic of the development of a territory is directly linked to the governability and the policy of development of this territory.
Desinventar fue una iniciativa multinacional colectiva iniciada en el marco de la Red de Estudios Sociales en Prevención de Desastres en América Latina entre 1992 y 1993 y se empezó a consolidar en 1994.
Desinventar was a collective and a multinational initiative initiated by la Red, and it started in 1990.
Las principales fases de desarrollo incluyen un proyecto piloto de 6 años, un proyecto de aplicaciones en una segunda fase, una expansión de la concepción y metodología de desinventar y una cuarta fase que inició con el marco de acción de Sendai y con Desinventar Sendai.
There is 4 phases on the development of the Desinventar methodology and tool. A pilot project of 6 years in between 1994 and 2000. There is a second phase with a project in the Americas region. There are a third phase of expansion of Desinventar databases at global levels from 2004 and 2015. And one for phase of Desinventar Sendai that was initiated at the same time of the Sendai framework for disaster risk reduction.
En la primera fase hicimos 8 bases de datos nacionales. El SINAPROC de Panamá adoptó como base de datos oficial a Desinventar y realizamos la primera actividad en vivo en el huracán Mitch en Honduras y Nicaragua en 1998.
Yeah. On the first phase of the pilot, they have developed 8 inventories, and at that time, the National System for Disaster Response of Panama had adopted the Desinventar as the official national data. And the first application, the operational application of Desinventar was during the Hurricane Mitch in 1998.
2098. The second phase.
En la segunda fase realizamos proyectos temáticos con el fenómeno El Niño, con el Programa de las Naciones Unidas para el Desarrollo, con el Banco Interamericano de Desarrollo para la República Dominicana, y en el año 2000 se creó la Oficina de Desastres en el Banco Mundial como respuesta del Banco Mundial a asegurar sus empréstitos a los países y a mitigar la solicitud de condonación de deuda externa en el caso de Honduras.
In the second phase, they have implemented projects in Latin America. They were working specifically in a project of risk management with UNDP, another project with the Inter-American Development Bank applied in the Dominican Republic, and they were also working with the World Bank in the post-disaster action after the Hurricane.
Bueno, luego tuvimos más bases de datos, más trabajos de investigación post-desastres en Venezuela, El Salvador y Perú, y trabajos en El Salvador y Centroamérica.
After this, during the second phase, they have research and application project using this inventar in Venezuela, El Salvador, Peru, and on a specific project with the National Service of Territorial Studies of El Salvador.
Las misiones post-desastres fueron de gran impacto en las instituciones nacionales y de socorro.
The post-disaster activities had a huge impact on the development and disaster management entities.
Porque en el huracán Mitch, en Venezuela con las lluvias y en los terremotos de El Salvador y Perú, pudimos mostrar en vivo que el imaginario de grandes desastres que requerían auxilios y socorro para todo un país realmente se desagregaban en efectos a escala local que debían ser priorizados.
This influence and this impact that they had was really important because with the work, the post-disaster work in Venezuela, Peru, Bolivia, they have shown that this global impact of this general impact of a disaster was in the reality composed of very localized and local effects that needed to be taken in account in the post-disaster need assessment of these activities.
Estamos, en mi opinión, hemos terminado la cuarta fase de bases de datos a escala global con el aporte del sistema de monitoreo de Sendai y Desinventar Sendai aplicado en más de 150 países.
Now, we can consider that we are at the end of the fourth phase of the development of this inventory with the development of the Desinventar Sendai, that is the new database, and the Sendai Framework Monitoring Tool, all these around in more than 150 countries around the world.
Y pensamos que hemos ingresado a una quinta fase de bases de datos nacionales a escala global con los siguientes retos.
And we can consider that we are starting the fifth phase of development of this inventory in 2025 with the next challenges.
Primero, aprender las lecciones de los impactos del COVID, SARS-19 y enfatizar en bases de datos nacionales y eventualmente regionales con información de los sistemas y nodos nacionales del sistema de monitoreo de Sendai, pero con un gran esfuerzo para incorporar sectores económicos de cada país en las bases de datos y en los indicadores.
The first challenge is to integrate the lessons learned from the COVID-19 into the work of related to the national disaster flows databases, interacting with regional and national levels, and also integrating the national focal points for disaster risk reduction on the construction of these information and data.
Segundo, fortalecer la interacción con los objetivos del desarrollo sostenible y sus indicadores como un tema que es responsabilidad, en mi opinión, de los países y del sistema de monitoreo de Sendai.
Integrate the interactions between the Sustainable Development Goals indicators and highlighting that there is a responsibility for each country.
Y tercero, nuevos análisis, investigación y resultados aplicables para el desarrollo sostenible, para políticas nacionales, regionales y globales.
The third challenge will be to produce analysis and results to inform the different process of disaster health development or sustainable development.
Por ejemplo, estamos explorando en una investigación en curso las epidemias, los desastres biológicos que en el decenio entre 1983 y 1993 ni siquiera estuvieron considerados en la estrategia internacional, en el decenio internacional. Y en esta gráfica mostramos que alrededor de una tercera parte de los datos de desastres, como los concebimos, en azul en el gráfico, son epidemias, y en un gráfico que no muestro los efectos sobre la vida humana de las epidemias antes del COVID son mayores que todo el conjunto de fenómenos físico-naturales que se han convertido en desastres de cualquier tamaño.
One of the examples of these new applications is shown in this slide that is analyzing the effects of pandemics and disaster related to biological hazard that weren't considered at the time of the decade reconstruction. And this graphic shows that the effects of this type of disaster related to biological hazard are bigger than the geological and hydrometeorological effects that we can capture in the different databases.
Para terminar, en los próximos 5 años deberíamos tener, tú puedes decir, Carlos, por favor, del 1 al 4, y con esto termino.
I wanted to finish with this slide, and this is the perspective for the next 5 years. Within this period, we will need to have sources and official system coordinated with the sectors and consolidated variables of damages and losses and reference values. I'm not sure to understand this. The second perspective we need to have is the update and actualization of the Sendai framework monitoring tool. We need to improve and invest on investigation and research, and we need to have application of AI that is, for example, an ongoing process with the UNDRR group in Colombia.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Andres, and thank you for this very comprehensive perspective of the history and evolution of UNDRR as an national official databases of the countries that contribute a lot to understanding of which are the different processes on the institutionalization of this inventory. I'm sure there is a lot of questions, but we will have a Q&A session at the end of the presentation. Now, because of the time, we will go fast to the intervention of the National Emergency Secretariat of Paraguay. I think Maria del Pilar will present from the national perspective of Paraguay their experience on the institutionalization of this inventory as an official database for this country. Please, Maria del Pilar.
Sorry, Carlos, we do not have the colleagues Maria and Ophelia on the participants list right now.
Okay, I get message. They were trying to go in. Yes.
No, I mean they'll be kind of allowed in immediately, but we haven't received a waiting in the waiting room. I mean, admit request. We haven't received it yet.
Okay, I will try to. Okay, on the meantime, waiting for the people from Paraguay, so the National Emergency Secretariat, I will ask my colleague, William Urbano, that will present two study cases of application of this inventory in the Latin America region. So please, William.
Good morning, or good afternoon, and good night, everyone. I will going to use the Andres avatar for my presentation. Just give me a minute. I will share my screen. Give me a minute. Understand. I don't know. Aquí en el escritorio, pero no me la memoria.
Is there a problem with the screen sharing?
Yeah, there is a problem with the screen sharing.
Carlos, do you have the presentation with you?
No, I don't. I don't.
Okay, because if you do, you can send it to us and we can do the sharing from our end, but we'll just need the PowerPoint.
The share. Carlos, no me deja compartir la pantalla.
Espérame un segundo. William Urbano, co-host. ¿No te deja? ¿Qué te dice?
Host disabled participant screen sharing.
Ok, me la pasas por mail y yo la comparto.
Okay, give me a second.
We made William a co-host right now.
He will share with me, and
okay.
And I will try to share the screen. I'm so sorry for this.
No problem, because we made William a co-host also, so we thought it should work, but that's fine if you can share the screen. Thank you so much, Carlos.
No problem. The people from the National Emergency Secretariat of Paraguay, they are trying to get into the meeting, but I don't see their request for access on the list of participants.
access link right? Can you just
Sorry?
copy paste? I'm saying they've got the access link right?
Yeah, I hope so.
Can you just resend them access link? What we could do is, we can have William's presentation now, right? And then we can just go for a short break. And then if by the time the colleagues come, then we can start with them. If not, we can go into Syra's presentation and then come back again for them. Okay. So we'll go for William's presentation now. And then we'll go for a short break, after which we can decide on whether we go with Syra's presentation first or the Paraguayan colleagues' presentation. Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to have the presentation on my email to allow William to do his presentation.
Good.
William, ¿me lo mandaste?
The internet is a little slowly, but I send you the presentation for your email.
Okay, just please give us a second. Maybe I'll take this little bit of time and taking the opportunity that we have the colleagues from Brazil that are present in the meeting room, I think. So to just share the information that we are starting to work with CEMADEN in Brazil to implement this inventory as a national official database. We have our colleague, Viviana from CEMADEN that is here. I'm happy to have her in the meeting. I think there is the send.
No sé si pero está hablando.
Ofelia, ¿estás ahí?
Carlos, do you have the presentation?
No, I didn't. I don't.
I sent you with the email, Andres.
Okay, yeah, I'm waiting for this. In the meantime, I saw the Ofelia or Maria del Pilar that are in the meeting.
Okay. Sorry, Carlos, can we, William, can you try one more time? We just made you host as well now. If you see, try one more time the screen sharing.
Inténtalo.
Because normally with the co-host.
Give me a second. I will try to again.
Ofelia.
No, how's disabled?
Okay. Hola, Ofelia. We have our colleagues from the National Emergency Secretariat from Paraguay, and they will have only 10 minutes to make the presentation. We are sorry they were having technical troubles to get in. So please, Maria del Pilar and Ofelia, the floor is yours. And they will present the national experience from Paraguay.
Okay, good morning to all. And I have a presentation. I hope I can show to you. 1 minute, please.
Let's try to share now.
Lo voy a hacer por ti si quieres, Pilar.
Perdón, ¿lo harías qué? Tengo la presentación en pantalla.
Vale, perfecto. ¿La enviaste?
La envié, sí. La envié a tu correo.
Ok, perfecto.
Is it working? Yeah, it's coming. Thanks.
It is?
Excellent. Perfect.
Okay.
Absolutely perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay, so I will start our short presentation. Good morning. It is an honor for us from National Emergency Secretary of Paraguay to participate in this training and to have this opportunity. We are with Mrs. Ofelia Insaurralde, Planning Director, and Maria Cantero, who is talking as International Affairs. As a starting point, I would like to explain that Paraguay joined the inventory in 2008. At the beginning, the updating of the database was in charge of the Paraguayan Red Cross and then passed to National Emergency Secretariat. From 2009 to 2013, we have some ups and downs in the update, which basically have to do with the process of institutional strengthening. However, the available information was used in the preparation of the 2012 edition for the Risk Atlas of Paraguay. That was the first one. Okay, so in 2008, the information on disaster, damage, and loss was very scattered and was punctual and not always accessible. Subsequently, in 2014, we have the technical support for OSO and UNDRR. So this effort made possible to complete the data for the period 1990 to 2014, a 24 years lapse. This effort implied that Paraguay appeared for the first time in the report Impact of Disasters in Latin America and the Caribbean. This was prepared by UNDRR, the Spanish Agency for International Cooperation, CET, and also. We continue the process in the year 2015 to 16. We have a national campaign, including awareness and training process in the framework of the PECO projects, with main focus in subnational governments, in department and local government municipalities. The most outstanding achievement in this period was to integrate the regular updating of the database to the institutional actions. We have a specialized area in the institution with the adding of human resource and technology. However, we are aware we have as a pending task to continue this work into incorporate other institutions and subnational governments. So currently the database can be accessed until 2017. The year 2018 is in validation process, and we are updating the data for years 2019 and current year. So from the institutional perspective, the activities related to monitor the indicators of the Sendai framework and sustainable development goals contribute to strength or joint work with other institutions and especially our National Statistics Office. These also allow us to access data on the impact of disaster as well as the possibility of generating data that until now was not available in Paraguay. So therefore, our plan is to continue with the loading of hemerographic data from newspapers in order to have a historical database. So up to date, we have reached until 1980, more than 20 years. At the same time, we update information that we receive from other national institutions that now are contributing to the monitoring of the Sendai framework. So our main challenge is to extract the administrative data, and for that, we also have the support of the National Statistical Office. So we can finish and summarize that this implementation process in Paraguay has allowed us to have a database of disaster impacts and loss accessible and available in a regional and international context. Also help us to enable discussion with different national and local actors about the need to have this systematic information of damage and loss, and to reflect the magnitude of the events that occur in our country. Also, it helps us to set ourselves the challenge of this multi-sectoral gathering of information and to position the issue of risk management and reduction on the agenda for the generation of information. We have learned from the experience of other countries through constant training and all the international support that UNDRR provide us for this process. So this is pretty much a very short summary about the Paraguayan experience. We appreciate the opportunity to show this, and we are at disposal of any question, or also to keep learning about the progress made by other countries.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Maria del Pilar. It's very, very valuable for us to have the experience from a country perspective and to highlight which were the main challenges and also the achievement you have so far. And this gives us a real idea on the perspective on the institutionalization of disaster loss databases as is inventory in our vision, but also at the global level. Now, we will continue with the presentation, and we will have our colleague, William. I actually have the presentation that I will start to share with you now. Just give me a short time to share with you. Okay, the floor is yours, William, please.
Hello again. With Andres saying your presentation, we have 2025 Latin American and the Caribbean databases in the inventory. And so some of these are official database, such in the case to Panama database. Others are supported by academic institutions like Costa Rica database, and others are managed by research institutions like CEMADEN in Brazil. On average, each historical database usually has a record period between 1970 and 2013. The Colombian database, for example, has its date until 2018. Most of the database were started with data from newspapers. However, currently we have databases that have a large percent with the official data. As the corporation also, we have used the database of Latin America and the Caribbean to support different reports, like global assessment reports. And especially with impact of disasters in Latin America and the Caribbean for 2019 and 2013. In this report, we use 22 database countries. On the one hand, 16 countries that belong to North, Central, and South America, and other 6 countries analyzed to Antillas Menores. The analysis was carried out for 4 variables of basic effects, like loss of lives, people affected, house destroyed, and house damage. With these variables, we made a classification of the location of the countries was made according to simple combination of these variables. One of these results for the report was for the 16 countries, 97% of the losses human lives, 82% of the homes destroyed, 96% of the people affected and homes damaged was by the extensive manifestation of risks that occurred between 1990 to 2013. That were caused by hydrometeorological events. Maybe it is possible that we update this kind of reports, we can find that the trend will continue to the same. And one important conclusion for that report in 2014 was that it is expected that in the short term, in each country there will be a better assessment of losses and damage caused by disasters that include a more detailed quantitative statement. For example, with differentiation of gender and age, type of cross, assessment of care costs, And finally, all the information that is not yet sufficiently documented or disseminated, and that is essential to obtain indicators on the impact of disasters and an input for the knowledge and risks in policies, planning, and mitigation risks. Well, we have, and so I talking about the national database, but in this inventory, we have a local database. In this case, for example, Antioquia database from Colombia, and to Oaxaca database from Mexico. The following experience that we want to share with you is an experience that relates to database of daily emergencies in a city, with the conception and methodology of this inventory and reference databases. The estimation of damage and losses in Bogota district. Bogota is the capital from Colombia. This was a project developed for the District Institute for Risk Management and Climate Change, UNDRR in Spanish. The UNDRR have a big database from emergencies. We're talking about around 3 million to records, and principally to 2010 and 2015. The project considered developing to historical inventory of effects associated with emergencies and disasters, and estimating to damage and losses. We have to bulletin to damage and losses. So to get to this, we first apply to conception and methodology of developing, which allow us to get from a universe to 2 million records to a data set to 185,000 records. This was possible by applying criteria like effects in the database emergency, specific files such affect people, disease, etc. Emergencies associated with a set of events to interest to UNDRR, hydrometeorological phenomena, damage to public service, accidents, etc. Finally, we exclude the alarms or duplicate records. And the final data we store in a disinventory database. The methodology to try to estimate the losses and damage was the DALA methodology for CEPAL, yes. So we have two kind of data. For one hand, we have effects for the database emergency, and we have classification by sectors, informations to reference from the service infrastructure, social service, product service, and something like that. Finally, we combine this kind of information to try to calculate the damage from in this case, from the service, the public service. And we is very useful to the local government for that they can explain and they can take some decision for what is the big problems in yours, or what is the big losses in your public service. This kind of exercise can be applied to countries by combining reference values and different kinds to types to disinventory database, generating important information for technicals and decision makers. Thank you.
William, for this very useful presentation that shows application of this inventory database and methodology at the national and subnational level. And there is a really impressive evidence on how we can use the results and the potential of this inventory to fit the decision-making processes in a country. This was the end of our session on institutionalization of disaster loss databases. I thank you, our colleagues from the National Secretariat of Emergencies from Paraguay to share their country experience, our colleagues from also Corporation in Colombia to show the experience in Latin America and the study cases. Now we can go to the Q&A session, so please use the chat to write your question to the team. Rahul, I give the word to you.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Carlos, and thank you. Sincere thanks to our colleagues from also Ministry and Government of Paraguay and also UNDP for their presentation and sharing with us the experience that they have had over the years on this system, and especially the institutionalization of this system, which has a very rich history in the Americas and Caribbean region. In the interest of time, we will just go into a short break of 5 minutes, and thereafter we will start with the analytics module. However, we would really encourage you to just type in questions that you may have on the presentations that you just heard, and so that after the analytics module that we can have a joint question and answer session. So that way we can at least complete all this presentations together, and then we'll take on the questions within the time that would be left, and as many questions as possible. And thereafter, we will try to also get back to you wherever possible through emails and maybe in the coffee with data session next week. So we'll go for a 5-minute break, and you can hear some light music till then, and then we'll have Saira Ahmed joining us on the analytics module. Thank you so much. 5-minute break.
Anda bem cotelada, procura sinceridade. Hora que Deus enfada, mas certa é maternidade. Anda bem cotelada, procura sinceridade. Hora que Deus enfada, mas certa é maternidade. Jorbo acaba que dispara, escava pobre não velocidade. Olha que na tua coisa for, dia está desgana fim. Em Jorbo acaba que dispara, escava pobre não velocidade. Olha que na tua coisa for, dia está desgana fim. Se bota a mão de trocolança, caça-lhe. Se boa vida está na balança, cai futebol. Se bota a mão de trocolança, caça-lhe. Se boa vida está na balança, cai futebol. Já lhe soma tá bem para tremer. Tudo se vai dar de estilozinha. Ele canta uma fé daquele desgraçado. Dava para a esquina da boita. Já lhe soma tá bem para tremer. Tudo se vai dar de estilozinha. Ele canta uma fé daquele desgraçado. Dava para a esquina da boita. Se bota a mão de trocolança, caça-lhe. Se boa vida está na balança, não cai por pau. Se bota a mão de trocolança, caça-lhe. Se boa vida está na balança, não cai por pau. trocolança, caça-lhe. Se sua vida tá na balança. Cai por pó, bota a mão de trocolança. Quer saber, sua vida tá na balança. Cai por pó, já sua manta bem pra tremer. Tudo sem vaidade, estilozinha. Ele quer uma fé daquele desgraçado. Tava atrás da esquina, tá aguentando. Já sua manta bem pra tremer. Tudo sem vaidade, estilozinha. Ele quer uma fé daquele desgraçado. Tava atrás da esquina, tá aguentando. Bota a mão de trocolança. Quer saber, sua vida tá na balança. Cai por pó, bota a mão de trocolança. Quer saber, sua vida tá na balança. Cai por pó, bota a mão de trocolança. Quer saber, sua vida tá na balança. Cai por pó.
Welcome back, colleagues. We had a short break, and I'm sorry for the slight delay that we are running. I will call upon quickly our next speaker, who is Ms. Saira Ahmed from our regional office of the Arab States based in Cairo. She's going to take us through the analytics module of the disinventar. Analysis module is a very, very interesting one, because that's where you actually see how the data, interacts with each other and looks, and it comes out in terms of the graphics. You can see how it works out in the maps, and you can see the statistics that are created from the analysis of the data that's entered in the administration module that we learned about last week. So without much ado, I'll give the floor to Saira. Saira, you're most welcome. Please.
Hello, and a very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. My name is Saira, as Rahul has mentioned. So I will be taking a session on the analysis module, which is quite very interesting. And without taking a break, let me share my screen. And okay, so.
Yeah, we can see a screen, Saira.
Okay, very good. So the objective of this webinar is basically to do this. It's not a regional, it's a global webinar. So the main objective is to discuss about the analysis model characteristics and to discuss on the relevance and approaches to collect disaster impact and to introduce this disinventar methodology. And I hope and I understand that many of you have been taking the sessions and you know a bit about disinventar now. And we will go through QD, thematic maps, and we will help you to build statistical reports. So analysis module is quite interesting, and it's one of my favorite modules that I work on, usually give trainings on. We start with a profile. As you can see, when you go into the system, then you see the tab, which starts with a profile, which shows the country at a glance. It talks about all the hazards the country is facing and the disasters having temporal and spatial analysis, spatial effect on time over space, how the disasters have affected. So you can see at a glance on the profile tab once you click it. Then we go to the view map and boundaries. This is the thematic map where you can view the maps and you can have information about the map. And this is a view map and the other one is a thematic one. So in the thematic one, you can play with the data. For example, you enter the different variables and different indicators, and then you see that how it has affected the different parts of the country. Charts and graphs, yes, then it is also we have different kind of options in charts and graphs. And then we have query. Query is very important because here, this is the part where you select and filter the data. For example, if you want to know how many floods have affected the country, so for example, in certain period of time or generic, so you can just click the query tab and go and select the variable, and you can get all the information in view data, because the view data, as you see, it's sorted out. So don't worry, we'll dive more into it. I'm just giving an overview of what is it. And then statistics, aggregation, and export. Well, statistical tab talks about the information, how we can do the statistics, and it is used to have different reports, to generate reports, to have an estimate. For example, if you want to know how many economic losses have occurred in certain period of time, so you have the option of selecting an event, a hazard by date, by year, and then you can have the full report of it. So it helps us to analyze the data at different points of time. Then reports similarly, you can create different reports. So this is about the analysis module. Cross tab is also like statistical and reports, but we will not go into it more because of the less time that we have right now. So you see, when I was talking about the profile, the country overview, you see the composition by hazard. So which hazards the country has been affected. And if you see these pie charts, they're showing the hazards and how it has been affected during the different courses of time. Then the temporal behavior, it shows in the time series that in how many years, in this particular years, how the hazards have affected different variables. For example, deaths, for example, houses damaged and destroyed, for example, economic losses and effect on the livelihoods. This you can see on the temporal behavior. Spatial distribution, again, as I mentioned, it talks about the maps, and you can see that you can see this, that which part of, and you can see the geographic disaggregation of data through different maps. Then the statistics and summary. So it gives a summary to you that, okay, what has happened, how many years, and detailed statistical analysis. So this is all available in the profile tab. And I think you have already gone through the administration module in the previous sessions, but I will again just reinforce the fact that in analysis module, you cannot edit the data because this information is public, and these are the official numbers given by the member states through the focal points, and these are publicly accessible data. Whereas the administration module, once you work on it, so in there you have an option because you are entering the data, you can edit the data, you can revise it, but once it's in the analysis module, then it cannot be changed, especially when you are using publicly through the disinventar.net website. So, but yes, this data can be changed if any revision is required, and also again from the backend from the validator, which are the focal points or the official focal points by each country. In the query tab, you see you filter the information. The logic is the more criteria you ask, the less data you get. For instance, we have selected a certain country X For example, Albania here, we have different disaster types filtered by hazard: forest fire, flood, landslide. You can see snowstorm, rains, flash floods, windstorm, hailstorm. So these are even the hazards. They are entered into the system by the official focal point as well, because we give the access that you want to add any hazard. And interestingly, we did little bit of analysis in the biological hazards through the disaster loss database, and we found out that only few countries had reported their data on the pandemics. So you see that because we all are facing this global pandemic like COVID-19, so if we have the data on pandemics specifically to COVID-19 and others that are affecting us gradually, they are slow onset disasters or extensive disasters. So if it is there, so it is easy to analyze data through the analysis module. Then the regions, filter by region or equivalent. Of course, these regions, district and commune, as you see, they are different geographical disaggregation, and it has been given by the countries it is identified by the countries themselves, because every country has a different criteria for and a different geographical disaggregation in their respective countries. Also, once we go in the system, this information comes through shape files, because there are different shape files that are being shared by the countries themselves, and then we upload it in the system for training purposes, and then finally in the actual server. Then you see there are filter by indicator. So there are different events, and there are different indicators that if the user wants to check, for example, deaths, houses destroyed, people directly affected, evacuated, hospitals, and then injured, houses damaged. So different variables you can see down, and you can check box, and then you can also, you have the upper limit and lower limit. For instance, you want to see, for example, how many people have died, so you can select the number of deaths and then can view data. But if you want to put a limit that, for instance, we want to know the people died from 10 to 100 or from 10 to 1,000. So you have the upper limit and lower limit where you can enter that, and you can further filter the data and further, select the data, you can select the data, and then you can check the information. And then filter by indicator, again, there are different other aspects as well, like, for example, water supply, industries, communication, relief, agriculture, sewerage, etc. And then added data, there's a view data option, which I said that once you select and you go to the view data, then you can have the information. Also filter by date, by lower and higher limits. So we can also, this is also time bound as well. If you can have the information, generic information over the period of time that has been mentioned, and the data that you have for all the years, but also you can time bound it by filtering it by date. And that is starting from years, month and date. Again, there is an upper limit and lower limit. So for example, you want to have a data from 2008 till 2014. So the lower limit will be 2008, and the higher limit that you enter would be 2014. And once you select the view data, you will get the information for only those years. So this is the one that I was mentioning to you about. Once you go to the view data, you will have something like that in front of you with the serial numbers that are automatically generated. These are auto-generated serial numbers. And for every event, then you enter a different data card. So data card has a different serial number, which is auto-generated. We have different events. You can see the regions, district, commune. As I said, these are the geographic disaggregation given by the countries themselves, and by date, location, and then you can have all of this information. So you see the total number of records that we have is 4,309. So this is the whole information that you can get. Depends upon the data that you have actually. Then this is very interesting, section of analytical module. where we have the thematic maps. These maps are again given to us by the countries. And in this, we can little bit play with the system. You can see that you can choose the colors and you can choose the ranges and the classes, and you can choose the variables to be plotted in the map. If because it's a bit small, you cannot see much, but the variables that are indicated on the left side are starting from deaths, injured, houses damaged, etc. And if you further want to get any filter the information, then again you have to go to the query and select it, and then select the variable from here, and then you can get the information, a spatial distribution of the information through the maps. You can choose the colors and ranges. You can additional display options. They are given, for example, you want to have the information in by name, by codes, by area code, then it is all available. So these are few slides that I added just to give in, because this is not specific to any region, but it is globally. I wanted to highlight that spatial analysis pattern. For example, you can see this is the spatial distribution of landslides in Colombia and distribution of losses over space. You can see that most of the events have taken place in the mountain regions of the Andes Cordillera that are more landslide prone than the flat regions. So this map and this spatial analysis give you an overview, a glance to what has happened in the past and how many events have, how the country has been affected by a certain hazard. So you can select a certain hazard and get the information, or you can select all the hazards and get the information. Okay, so this is a spatial distribution of economic losses by hurricanes in Florida, USA. So this shows that the countries situated in the hurricane paths have been more affected, and coastal countries in the Gulf Coast have been more economic loss due to the impact of storm surges. This information is also showing us about the economic losses, but through the space. Okay, so this one is also taken to show you the spatial distribution of houses destroyed in Sri Lanka after 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami. So this is also part of the thematic maps. Once you go, there are different levels and you can see such kind of information. You can see the tsunami ocean and what is happening. Yeah. And spatial distribution of Sri Lanka from 1970 to 2007. For instance, you want to know the number of landslides. So you can see the concentration of in specific parts of Sri Lanka, and you can see that, okay, here the number of landslides have occurred. Using maps for decision making. Houses damaged by floods in Dakar City, Senegal. So this tool, we have different ranges from ISO ranges to equal ranges. This tool shows evidence that some neighborhood of the city have reported damage to housing due to floods. Map on the left, also that the damage is unevenly distributed in some specific neighborhoods. Map on the right, where flood protection and flood risk reduction measures should be prioritized. So once you have this information about certain damages to the infrastructure, then it's help us in identifying where to prioritize our risk reduction efforts and how to prioritize this in our national strategies and our national plans for disaster risk management. Going to the statistics and reports, we have this profile. For example, we have different variables here, and we have the variables available here and the variables selected. So you have the option here that, for example, you can select the variables from the losses. You can see losses in dollar local, then damages in crop hazard, damages in roads with deaths, etc. So then it is the user choice to select certain variables and then add or remove it. Once you do it, then you go down and you see the first level of totalization, second level, and the third level. The first level of totalization, for instance, you select the event and then you select the district or commune or date, depends upon what kind of query you have or what kind of information you want to choose. So you can select that, and then in the third level as well, it depends if you want to have the third level of totalization or you don't want to. So then you select it, and then once you go that, click continue, you will have the full report. And this is just showing you that how we do it, query the database, extract the information, and then you can have the information, urban district, houses damaged. So you can analyze the data because of this tool. So creating synergies among the institutions for data collection and follow-up is essential. I have been sharing this and informing the countries because we have been going to different countries in our region, trying to strengthen their capacity and to establish and update the disaster loss database. It's extremely important when we talk about this inventory that, and Macaulay was also discussing about that, that we need to have a clear coordination mechanism for data management, because the main issue that we face here is data, and not only data, but quality of data and timely data, which is essential. I will do a few demo exercises on query, thematic maps, and statistics to tell you that how we work on the system itself. Rahul, do we have time for that? I just want to confirm.
Hello. Yes, you have time for that. You can go ahead.
I can go ahead. Okay, thank you. So now we will go to the query tab, and what we will do, it's very interesting. I will take you through the system, and we will see how many records are there on floods, how many records are there that killed people, and that killed more than 10 people, and how many records are there for the year 2010 only. So let me take you the system. Is it clear? You can see my screen, right?
Yes, we can.
Very good, thank you. So here you will, when you see the screen, you click the analysis tab and you select any country. For instance, well, I work for the Arab states, so first I will select, for instance, Lebanon, because we had this Beirut explosion. It was very massive. So you see this one I was telling you, the multi-hazard profile. This is the profile tab. It shows you the profile of the country with these charts. You can see with deaths, data cards, indirectly affected people, houses destroyed and houses damaged. The temporal behavior you can also see. I can just ignore it. As you can see from 1980 till 2019. I just use the analysis module for Lebanon because I know that they have entered the data for 2019, so they have much information for that. Similarly, for data cards, you can see on the time series from 1980 till 2019, they have how much data cards are there for houses destroyed and houses damaged, people indirectly affected, directly affected, and then the spatial distribution on different indicators. You go to statistics. As I said, the composition of disasters. You can get this information by Excel. If you click get it as Excel, you can download it. And then you see that there are different events. So many events have happened. These are the number of data cards, number of deaths, and all the information is in the composition of disasters. As at a glance, you can see that what the country has faced in these years. Then the spatial distribution as well. You can see the different geographical areas hit by these are the codes given by the country and how they are affected. Then the temporal behavior as well. Over time, for example, from 1980 to 2019, how the country has been affected. And in the end, you will see the summary for data cards. We have 2,384 data cards, and the period is from 1980 till 2019. The highest mortality, you can see the highest that it has happened due to windstorm, and the highest housing damages, it's all there. So we were talking about query. So let's go straight to query. So we wanted to see that how flood has affected the country. So you can see the disaster tag. You select flood here like this, and you have this view data. You click here and you get the result. So you see there are 89 records for floods, and that has affected different governorate and districts. Now, if you want to have another query, for instance, we want to see, okay, the country has been affected by floods, but how many people have died? So what we can do is, I'm trying to, you click deaths and you click view data. Okay, so we have 3 records for that. So floods have not actually resulted in a lot of deaths. So this is good. Then if you want to have another new query, you can, there's an option for new query. You click new query and it will be refreshed. Now we want to have to know that, okay, how many, how events have affected and how many deaths have, for example, more than 10, or you want to give an upper limit or lower limit for deaths. So for example, for instance, now I want to just see that how floods have affected all the different disasters, how different disasters has affected Lebanon in different period of time. So I just click deaths, and for instance, I give the higher limit for 1,000 and see what happens. Okay, so we see that we have 62 records for that. So 62 records for the total number of deaths. Previously, we were what we were checking that because of flood, there were only 3 records. And now because of because we have selected all the hazards that are given here. So we see that that's how Lebanon has been affected. Similarly, now, for example, let's take a new query. I want to check, okay, now in 2010, how Lebanon has been affected. So what I'm gonna do is, I'll just start from this date. This is the year, so I select 2010, and month starting from, okay, from January, and date is 1, and then end of the year, that will be 31st of December. And let's see what happened in Lebanon in 2010. So we click view data. So we have this record for 26 records. That's how the country has been affected, and the dates are given in 2010, how the Lebanon has been affected. So this information, you can check it through the query. Okay, so we had another, number of produce a map of disaster mortality, number of deaths. Okay, so now for instance, I want to do something else. I want to check the disaster mortality through the maps. So this is what we talked about, the thematic maps. This is the map of Lebanon, and I want to see, okay, how many people have died, how I can see them, the spatial distribution, how I can get this information. So you have these variables, you collect deaths here. And now we see that we have actually, in the query, you have to be careful that because we have given only the year 2010. So you load another query, new query, to remove everything from here. And then you go to thematic maps, because whatever information is there in the query will be reflected here. So now we say, okay, this is it. And now we want to check the deaths. Oh, okay, so this is showing you the color range. As you say, you can have this information. And if you want to see the code's name, type of area code. Well, this is actually a lot of information given, so it's like so not so good. But if you want to show the names, you can get the names as well. Like this, a lot of data is entered by the focal point actually. But then the output level as well, you can check the governorate, district, village, etc. Okay, now we want to produce a map of disaster mortality due to floods. So how Lebanon has been affected by floods. So we go to QD again, and now we have to select the hazard. This is floods. And then you go to thematic maps, and we want to data cards. Okay. So that's how it has been affected. For example, we want to know how many houses destroyed or damaged. You can select them as well. And then you have this information directly affected. So the more you, as you select the variables to be plotted on the left side, you can get this information on this side. But remember that you have to make sure that what you have entered in the query. For instance, I don't want to add this one, and I take new query without anything, and I go to thematic maps again, and then I select the other variables like this. So now I have more concrete information because it is not only about the floods, it's all about the other hazards as well. And you can see the different values, and you can, so that's how you can play with it. Similarly, if you want to change the color, there's an option here. You click here, you can select any color, and then you can change it. At all levels, the colors are given. And usually when we go for hands-on workshops and we have more time, we allow and ask the participants to always play with it and to use different variables respective to their countries, and you can use the actual data. So it's quite interesting. Okay, now produce a map of damages to crops for all hazards. So, okay, now I want to see that, okay, what happened with the damages of crops? So here you can see the option here, damages of crops hazards. That's how you see that all the, this is the information damages of crops. And then you can change the color again. You can use it and the disk, the bar, there's a dynamic maps, there's KML, generate maps, you can do anything with it. Okay, I just have to check the time. So lastly, I will show you the statistical report. For instance, this is also very important. Okay, this is the statistics tab. And that's what I was discussing on. I would highlight that, you know, I had, last week I attended webinar and an event by UNESCO on geospatial data and big data and all related, and all the NSOs and the National Statistical Offices and statistical divisions were there. And it was so interesting. And then we realized that how important this inventory can be to get this information, because we have this information is, if it is handled and produced with the help of statistical officers, then you can get accurate information and timely information. For instance, you see there are available variables and you want to remove all of them. For instance, all of this, you don't want it now, remove this. Now we want to see, okay, so what we want to know, how many, what was the, any variable we can select, losses in dollars and the local currency. So you add here. These are the economic losses. Also, if I want to check, I want to check the impact on the houses destroyed, houses affected. Okay, I've added this. So it is about the infrastructure loss, and I want to, for example, anybody in the housing sector or infrastructure development offices, and they want to see, okay, we have to see that what has happened, how disasters has affected, and how much infrastructure, how much funds do we need for that, and how many areas have been affected. So we can have this losses and with the variables of the houses destroyed and affected and get the statistical report like that. For example, we want to see the, now you don't have to select the hazard, you select the event here, because event is the hazard here. And then this is the geographic disaggregation given by governorate, district, and village, which is the geographic disaggregation in Lebanon. So you collect, for instance, I want to see which governorate, and then I want to see what was the date? When does it happen? So you click continue. And you see this. So this is the event. Can you see the report? Yeah, so it is from starting from alphabetical order. We see starting from avalanche, cold wave, earthquakes, erosion, and many others, and which governorates it has affected. These are the codes given by the country again. The dates on which date it happened, the data cards, the losses in local currency. So this is all information, and you can see the total information like this. Now I want to use it for my own analysis. So what I can do it, I will click here, get it as Excel. And this will be downloaded here. In my system, I can save it and I can use this statistical information, and it will be useful for any kind of statistical analysis. So this was about, yeah, and then it also about when we want to, for example, analyze information annually. So what I can do is I can select the variables from here, keeping this as it is, and event, and I select, 1 second, where is it? The date, and there is an option for year also, year and month. Okay, when does it happen? Annually, what happened? So when I click continue, I should have this. Yeah, so now we have the year, the month, the date, and all of the records of what has happened in different years and how, and which events has affected different housing sectors, or and what were the losses in general. So the idea for today's session was to give you an overview of analytical module. It's quite interesting. It takes a lot of, when we do more exercises, when we discuss about more sources of information, validation of information, it gets more interesting. So with that, I hope that I have given you a little bit, at least, little bit of information on an overview of analytical module. So over to you, Rahul, and if any questions, I'm happy to answer. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Sarah. We'll now open the floor for questions from participants. Please feel free to unmute yourself, introduce your name and organization, and ask your question.
Hello.
Hello, please go
Hello.
ahead, Amma.
Yeah, I have a question about the installation of this inventor. I downloaded the software and I installed it, but at the beginning they asked me that you don't have a database, and they have the 3 options, A, B, and C. A is for the beginners, as I thought, and clicked on it, and it's called that you have this database in your PC. When I click OK, it repeats the same thing, A, B, C. I checked with the database I have loaded. There is a place for this this inventor.so, but it seems that this inventor software doesn't know the link or to how to go to that link, which is the Access, Microsoft Access. So I ask if there is anyone who can answer me or lead me to solve this problem. Thank you.
Sir, hello. Hi, this is Rahul. Sarah, you'd like to take the question, take the floor, or Mario is also here if you want.
I was just saying that I think Mario is here, so I would be happy to take it.
Sure. Mario, can you take the question here? Or if it is long, then we can also take it bilaterally. But if you can give a short answer here, we'll be grateful. Thank you, Mario. The floor is yours, Mario.
Yes. Yes. Hello. Hello. Buenos días. Yes, Mr. Omer, maybe you can test instead of MSS access, use Derby. However, if it is part no work for you, maybe we can discuss directly in a private session to guide some direction for this issue.
What do you mean by MS Derby?
Derby is another kind of database instead of MSS Access. The problem with Access is quite old, so in Windows 10, sometimes it not work very well. So that could be the options. Use Derby.
Is it included when I download this inventory?
Yes, yes, it's inside. It's inside of the inventory.
Okay, I'll try it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions? Please feel free to unmute yourself, introduce your name and the name of your organization. Okay, Syra, in the morning, we had some questions that I think participants of this afternoon would also be interested in knowing. So one of the questions was, how can I add country information into this inventor when the country is not in the list? In this case, it was in the case of Somalia.
Okay, so the country information in this inventory. Well, the country information in the disinventory, first of all, it is requested by the country itself. And we have been actually working, we have this project with Somalia, and we will be establishing the disaster loss database and we are coordinating with the government of Somalia on this. And we had received the shape files. As I mentioned, that we have to have the shape files from the country, we have it. And we have uploaded that on the training server. So first we will train the country and their officials on the system. And once they are ready and when they have collected data, once they have established and coordinated everything, and once and okay with by the government of Somalia, then we will upload that on the actual server. For now on, of course, Somalia is not on the disinventar.net right now. We are still working towards it. Once the process starts, then we will do it. Thanks.
Thank you, Syra. Another question was, can you select several hazards at once to have a multi-hazard map?
Yes, of course. We can select different hazards. As I said that, for instance, I was showing that I selected flood, but if I select all the hazards and we want to have a multi-hazard profile, the multi-hazard profile is already on the profile tab. If you see the profile tab, so you can see that how many hazards have affected the country. It is already there in the profile tab. If you want to go to the query and select specific different hazards, then there's an option that you can select many and you can have the profile. So that's not a problem.
Another question is, are the colors chosen based on the definition of each country, or they are the same in all countries?
Colors, well, this, I will ask Mario for support on this, but the colors usually are selected and which are given there are by, they are on the disinventor, they are by the countries themselves, because after validation, all the process, they're uploaded on the server. And then, but in the thematic maps, as I said, there is an option of changing the color, so you can play with the system. You can choose the colors and, and this kind of exercises, we give it to the participants. So that is an option there. But generally, the first time, if you can see, so it is given by the country, and even the maps they're all official. Thanks.
Thank you, Syra. At this point, does any of the participants have a question to ask directly?
They all understood me so well. Thank you. But I think they were, if anybody has question for the previous session as well, as Rahul mentioned.
Excuse me, I just want to have 2 words for you. After basically the 3rd class, most probably today, it was really interesting, to tell you honestly. And on our last class, I tried to say to Rahul that that was administration module was very tough for us, and I requested him to give a second session for maybe for 15-20 minutes to get into the module next another time. But today it was so vivid and so explicit from your side, and it was really interesting. Thank you very much, Sarah.
Thank you so much. Yes, Abdullah, yeah, we took note of your that point. It's just that probably we were thinking we can accommodate that in the coffee with data sessions, but we already are putting up the presentation. So Mario will like look at the last touches, give the last touches, and put it up, and it should be online today itself. The presentation that Mario gave on the administration module, I mean the installation of the system actually. That's the one you were mentioning last on Tuesday, if I'm not mistaken, right, Abdullah?
Yes, Rahul, right. You're very true.
Okay, so and Mario is also online. So Mario, we'll be grateful if you can please upload that presentation today itself. Please finalize and put it up online on the community cloud. And if possible, we'll try and carve out a time. Your presentation seems to be in popular demand. So we have a couple of ideas we were actually exchanging, and we'll have to see let's see the interest of people. The one option is that if as Abdullah you mentioned that is we could have another rerun of that, at least a synopsis of that. So there is one option, given the time constraint. If possible, we will squeeze it somewhere. The other option that Zoom has is to have parallel breakout rooms. So in that case, when we have, like, say, some other presentation, which is basically, experience sharing, which is not a technical presentation, but an experience sharing presentation, which of course is being recorded and will be available to all participants, we could look at a possibility of a breakout where interested colleagues like you could join for a detailed technical discussion on the system, like with Mario. We could do that. So let us get back to you, though. Those are the two options. Either we do a parallel breakout session exclusively on the installation of the software and the questions thereof and the challenges if colleagues are faced on that, or we can squeeze a little bit of time in one of those days. So let's just give us a bit of time, but we'll come back to you with either of the options. That works, Abdullah, with you?
I think that your first option would be much better, because no one would be liking to squeeze the normal session. So
yeah, yeah. Then we can go with those who are interested could join Mario. So let us get back to you on that one. Yeah. So. But you'll definitely get the presentation today on the community cloud. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Rahul. Thank you once again.
Thanks. Thank you. So if I may now, just before closing, again, thank you so much, Sarah, for taking the time and sharing with us this very important analysis module, and also thank you to the colleagues for their engagement and their queries, because these queries really help us, because we have been into this so long, for so many years, that we take many times things for granted. That as that happens with it's human nature. But then when we hear questions from you, we realize, okay, this is something that we need to really go deep into, and we realize that probably even in our presentations, how we are presenting it within the time that we are presenting it, it's probably not doing justice. So we try to improve based on your queries. And as I said, the questions, please keep them coming. We've given the email address of Sandra's. Till every Friday, we will compile the questions and try to answer them on the next Tuesday's Coffee with Coffee with Data session. So right now, I'll just quickly see if you can just give us 1 minute. We're trying to put up the agenda and see if we can share the screen for that. Just give us 1 second for that. Yeah. We are having a slight challenge with the sharing of the agenda, but let's quickly run through it and give you an overview. So on Thursday, we did the administration module. On Tuesday, we did the Coffee with Data, very technical IT related installation of the system itself. That's what we run through. This morning and this afternoon, we've gone through 2 important aspects of Disinventar. First is the installation, the institutionalization and establishment of disaster loss databases in general, with an example of Disinventar, of course. But there are different countries have different databases, and which they have institutionalized. Again, in the morning, we had slightly different presentations because we had the countries like Cambodia, we had UNDP from Bangkok joining us, and we had a colleague from Australia, all from the eastern part, extreme east of the world. So we had we had those for time zone considerations. We had the presentations there. All these are being recorded. Please just bear with us a bit more on this, because we can't really upload the raw feed, because we've already got like few terabytes of data of the recording. So it's not easy for us to upload that straight away. So we will be doing a video editing of the whole training, and we'll be sharing that with all the participants. That way, it will also look very seamless, because as you can imagine, we are repeating sessions for the benefit of colleagues in the Western and Eastern Hemisphere. So that's what we did this morning and today. Now, the next one will be on Tuesday. We will be having some example. Tuesday will be the Coffee with Data sessions, which will be primarily, again, experience sharing with some of our partner organizations like CIMA Foundation. CIMA Foundation has been working on this area for long, especially they're based in Italy, and they're working a lot in especially the Southeast Europe region, countries in the Southeast Europe region, and they have worked on disaster loss databases there, and we'd like to see their experience among a few others. So that's what we are looking at. Experience of actual, how loss databases and Disinventar are in different parts in real country context. Something like what you saw for Paraguay. The reason for that is loss databases are not so kind of centralized, and it's not one size fits all. So there are different types of loss databases in different countries, and they have adapted them. You even Disinventar, frankly, there is only, let's say, we have over 110 countries that have Disinventar, but actually about 60 countries have the true form of, the original form of Disinventar that it was. But then another 40 countries have locally hosted Disinventar, and they have adapted it for their country needs. So really, loss databases can always be, adapted. And so thank you so much. So we got this on the screen now of what I'm talking about. So that's what I was mentioning was on the 27th of October, as you can see, the Coffee with Data. So that's what we are going to share, that what has been the experience of different countries. I'm just raising this thing about, the country context and how loss databases have been contextualized in the countries, primarily because you will see a slight difference in the Sendai framework monitoring sessions, which you know as again on the screen as it comes up. On the 5th of November onwards, we will start the Sendai framework monitoring sessions. There you will see, because it's the Sendai framework monitoring is a more structured, it's a more not structured, I was saying it came up from the Sendai framework and the UN General Assembly, and it is really led by the governments. There is a certain commonality across the board, because then governments are putting it into the same system. So the system looks the same across the world for all 193 UN member states and 2 observer states. So a total of 195 countries, the system looks the same. They enter the data in the same into the same indicators in the same place. What we will go into is how the data is being collected, and how some of the non let's say loss related indicators look like, especially in terms of scoring, self-scoring that or subjective scoring that countries are doing. So the reason I'm mentioning it here is that's the difference you will see between the loss accounting that we are doing through this inventar, as you see here, and the Sendai framework monitoring that you will see later. So that is why there will be a lot of experience sharing that we would like to bring to you in the disaster loss databases in this inventar, because it's not one common database for all countries. So this is where we stand. So looking forward to the next session of Coffee with Data on 27th October. We will be bringing in partners to share their experience. And thereafter, there will be one more main session, which covers the last 2 topics that we want to share, and there are already questions coming in on that. That is on data collection, on sharing, and quality control. See, many times we've done our training before, and many times we focused more on the system itself. So we had repeated sessions on the system, and explaining you in very detail how the system looks like, going through exercises. But we realized that that once you get a hang of the system, you can always do it. And people are very, very conversant with web-based tools nowadays. So you don't really the system is not the challenge. What we realized, the challenge that comes in, and where people need to discuss and understand each other's views and others' experiences, is in issues of governance, the data governance, of data collection, of how data is being shared, and how do we maintain the quality. So these, and the institutionalization also, which we discussed today, these came back to, and as I've always been saying, that we are trying to improve our training and the feedback. Training on the material and the sessions themselves based on the feedback. So this is the feedback we received, that how we can discuss on these issues. And the last one, as you can see on my screen, it's the usability of loss data for policy making. That is another one that's extremely important, because you see, at the end of the day, what is the incentive of doing all this? Why do we need to do a loss database unless it helps in policy making, in investment decisions at the national level? All this reporting to multilateral bodies like the Sendai framework is one of the advantages. Yes, you can report there, but the first thing that the country always looks for is how we can, or the partners in the country look for how they can use those platforms or data or analysis that comes out from there in their actual policy and investment decisions. That's the critical requirement for the real litmus test for these database and the loss accounting. So that's what we're going to discuss on next Thursday in the main session. And then we'll close with another Coffee with Data, where we will have, again, some experience sharing, including, we'll go into that. I don't need to go to the details in this week, but look out for another email, a reminder email that will come to you definitely on the Monday, the 6th of October. That email always comes from a UNDRR Bonn email that I will send, and I will put in there all these like a bit more details about the sessions, as I mentioned, for the 29th October session, sorry, 27th October, the Coffee with Data sessions. So that will have, that email will have the data, the details, and it will have all the links where you can connect. So with this, we can close here, unless there's any particular question. We are just looking at the chat box now. If there's any question from participants, and also if participants would like to take the floor and ask any questions, please feel free. The questions can be on what you heard today, or on the ToT itself. I hear there's one question, please. Oh, yeah, there's a question from Gayan Supasinghe. You can take the floor and ask your question. Thank you. So I don't know if Gan is able to connect. We'll give the question here. The question is, what are the different options available for data and map downloads or extracts for reporting purposes? So what are the options for data and map downloads? So I guess you're talking about the formats like Excel and other which formats this data can be downloaded, I assume. Saira or Mario, please go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, Mario, would you like to contribute into this about the maps?
Yes. Well, the way to produce maps in this inventory is huge, basically, because if you remember, the combination in the query could be very extensive. Every kind of combination in the query can produce a different maps. Every maps you can download has an image in PNG format, for example. That could be done, only copy the image and paste in your computer. Or also you can download the map as a KML file that could be used in Google Earth, for example. Yes, I think that it could be helpful for the people that ask.
Thank you, Mario. As of now, that's the only pending question we had in our chat box. So if anybody has a question, they can unmute themselves and ask it now. If not, we'll then close the session, but we'll keep the Zoom open for colleagues to, think over, and if they want to share some thoughts. And till then, we'll just play some music for you. But please feel free to take the floor if you have any questions. And as per your commitments, please also feel free to exit the room as required. But we'll keep the Zoom session open. So to close again, thank you again to Saira, Mario, and our earlier speakers from also from the government of Paraguay and UNDP, and also to Carlos for helping moderate that session. Thank you to you all.
Rahul, I have to leave for another meeting now, so thank you very much.
Sure, please. Yeah, that's fine.
Thanks everybody for your time. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. And our deepest appreciation for colleagues to joining in from, I see from Asia, I see colleagues from Sri Lanka and other countries in Asia as well joining in now, which is, we really appreciate that because it is really late at your end. So thank you so much. Thank you, Daniela.
Bye, everyone.
But I don't know.
Te trajeron serenata, mira, Mari. Sí, eso fue cortesía de Fernando.